Good morning, community. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to another day right here in the community where we say and believe and honor and commune together like we are better together. Thank you for joining me for another day. We will be on day number 9 when we know better. When we know better, right? Many of us have heard that quick phrase often. When we know better, we do better. When we know better. So today we're going to be exploring insights from Queen Anne. She is from England, and this was circa 1526. So welcome again to day number 9 of our Queen C Queens devotional read right here in the community. Go ahead and give me some love or thumbs up if you've been enjoying our studies so far, if you've been being blessed by it, if you've been gathering nuggets from it. Um, as you come into the room, of course, greet one another. Let's love on one another. Let's continue to encourage one another and continue to create a space where we truly are better together. So, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Tabitha. Congrats on the drop off, Queen. I was praying for you. I saw a pic where I saw you laid over. I said, oh, Lord, bless Queen. So, congrats to you and welcome to the community this morning. Good to see you. Good morning, Shell. Good to see you. Good morning, Ann. You up and ready, cousin? You ready to go? Believing God for greatness for you. Greatness for you. I can tell that you really want something from the Lord. And my prayer, Ann, is that He gives you your heart's desire. So good morning. Thank you for being here. Girl, I love to say all the way from Dallas like you done drove in. But honey, you here, right? So good morning. Good morning, Arlinda. Good to see you. Good morning. All the way from Bryan, Texas. Good morning, Jen. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see what you're telling me. You're here for day number 9. Thank you for creating this experience with God's word and you. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. And thank you for being a part of it, all of the queens. It would not be as great without your presence here. Go ahead and wake up another queen and tell them, get on in this room. We're about to jump into day number 9. When we know better. Insights from Queen Anne Boleyn of England near 1526. Yeah, it's good to be in this space with other women who want to just wake up and get into something that's God oriented before starting our day. With that being said, we are going to go ahead and get started. Today's affirmation says, I will walk in wisdom, choose with depth in my understanding, and act with discernment, redeeming time that has already been wasted. I will progress with purpose by heeding my lessons learned. I'll read that again. This is particularly interesting for those of us who sometimes may feel as if I've wasted a lot of time. Latanya, honey, I am leaning through the screen, girl, giving you a hug and the boys, Crawford family. Come on, hyphenated last name. Yes. Good morning, Latanya. Good to see you. Good morning, Tracy, joining us from way somewhere like, let me see. I know it's not Round Rock. Could be, but good morning, Tracy. Good to have you in the room. And yes, Ann, I see you waking up Debbie. Tell her to get on in here. Okay, so the title alone gives us an indication of when we know better, right? We've yes, ma'am, when we know better. But then the affirmation layers that and it begins to talk about this. So I'll say it again. When we walk in wisdom, I will walk in wisdom. Everybody, you can have your affirmation going right there in your homes. I will walk in wisdom, choose with depth in my understanding, and act with discernment, redeeming time that has already been wasted. Good morning, Kelsey. I will progress with purpose by heeding my lessons learned. So today's queen we're going to see, it's an interesting story. I actually like her even though she made a very poor choice. But this whole affirmation delves into this idea that when we know better, we do better. Being women who are conscious about when my gut, my intuition, my insight, my good girlfriend, whatever that is that tells me the path that I'm walking on is not the right path. We want to be people who operate from lessons learned or who operate from wisdom given. We don't want to be women who have to learn everything the hard way. People often say, Experience is the best teacher. And I just beg to differ. I don't have to experience everything to to do better, to make a different choice. I share very transparently about my dearest and oldest as in longevity, a girlfriend Kim, and she talks about this too. So when she listens to this later today, I don't want you all to think I'm sharing something private. Good morning, Cherise. But when we were teenagers, in fact, Kim was 16 when she became pregnant with her first son. And I remember her going through all types of things as a teenage mom in a very conservative type of setting, and just other dynamics about that, right? And I remember my girlfriend, even at 16, saying to me, "This is not what I want for you. This is not what I want for you. This is not all that it's cracked up to be." Sneaking out, doing like a lot of typical teenage things. This is not what I want for you. And we laugh and talk about that to this day, that even then, and if you know Kim, you know she has very much a protective guardian type. Like, she's my girlfriend who, when I'm trying to, slow down and let the people in on the road, she's the one who says, "Speed up. We not gonna let all of them cut you off." Like, she's just that girlfriend who's a rider live, who steps in, don't mind getting with somebody behind something. And even then, she was protective. Even then, it was this sense of, if my sharing my lessons learned with you will spare you from some of the stuff I'm having to go through as a 16-year-old turning into a 17-year-old mom, then I want you to know, I want these lessons learned to make your way a bit easier. And as I'm talking about that, I think about a song that, I know her first name is Regina, and I don't remember her last name, but she sings a song that says, "If I could, I would share with you the lessons that I've learned." So it is this notion that we don't always have to learn things the hard way. We don't have to have the bumps and the knocks of that. And so this affirmation, again, right there in your homes, if you're receptive to that, if you understand that, yes, there are certain things that you'll only learn by doing it, but there are other things, like in your investment portfolio in the future, you don't want to have to lose $100,000 or $200,000, right, to learn the lesson of investing, or you don't want to have to suffer from some illness to learn the lessons of being healthy. We want to receive that where we can. Yeah, I see you, Cherise. Thank you, Regina Bell. Good morning, Chandra. We want to receive that where we can. We receive this affirmation today. So everybody, write back with me. I will walk in wisdom. Somebody say that in your homes. I will walk in wisdom. Choose with the depth in my understanding. Meaning, I'm going to have a good understanding about certain things before I make a choice. I will act with discernment. Act with discernment. Redeeming time that has already been wasted. I will progress with purpose by heeding, paying attention to my lessons learned. Come on, y'all. I'm going to say that one more time. I will walk in wisdom. Y'all, I'm saying that in my whole spirit. Man, we have 4 months and a few weeks left. I don't have time to waste. I will walk in wisdom. I will choose with depth in my understanding. It means I'm going to understand what I'm getting myself into. And act with discernment. Discernment, Kelsey, is that thing that just lets you know what you know, and you don't even know how you know what you know, but you know what you know. I'm going to act with discernment. I'm going to redeem time that has already been wasted. So for any of you who already feel like because I done wasted enough time, we're going to redeem it. And I will progress with purpose by heeding. Heeding is just paying attention to, honoring the lessons learned. Good morning, Lily. Honoring the lessons learned. So here's our scripture for today. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. James 3:13. It says, let him show it with good conduct. Basically saying, if you're wise, your conduct, your behavior ought to reflect that. If you're wise, your actions, your behavior, your decisions should reflect that. But here's the interesting piece. It adds, in the meekness of wisdom. What does that mean? Y'all, people who are very prideful, those who you can barely tell anything, those people will make a lot of hard mistakes, a lot of hard choices. Really, in a nutshell, in our lingo, because can't nobody tell them nothing. Because can't nobody tell them nothing. So we say over ourselves, God, help me to have a meek spirit. Help me to have a humble spirit. When people have lived lives with me that demonstrate that they mean my good, when they tell me something that I don't particularly want to hear, when they suggest that I don't go down a different road, when they turn their nose up and start kind of acting dry and funny, when I bring like a certain friend around or a certain guy around, help me to take heed to them. If they've always meant me well, help my spirit not to become defensive or rebellious or argumentative. Y'all, a lot of people would be spared choices if people felt like if I come to you and try to tell you in love, because I've always operated with you in love, that you would receive me. A lot of people would make better choices. We want to be those women that make those choices. We want to be those women who, when our guts say don't go down that road, when our guts say, honey, you see that big old red flag waving with caution lights, we don't want to just step over it. So let's get into it. Let's see what happens with Queen Anne. It says, with no intentions of her own, Anne Boleyn caught the eye of King Henry VIII. Okay, she wasn't out there trying to do no situation, but she caught the eye of King Henry VIII. Ooh, somebody say, Lord, help me. Why, let me a safeguard whose eye I catch, right? She caught the eye of King Henry VIII. In other words, she was minding her own business when the king made her his business. Although it was common in her day for a king to have multiple love interests, Anne resisted his pursuit, refusing to become one of his mistresses. For her hand in marriage, King Henry broke from the Catholic Church, as they would not condone a termination of marriage. He divorced his wife and pursued Anne even more obstinately. So he made up his mind, right? He made up his mind that he wanted Anne. Anne was like, no, you a married dude and you got a whole lot of mistresses. I'm not going to fool with you. So the church in that day would not condone divorces. So King Henry breaks up with the church so that he could break up with his wife, so that then he could go ahead and marry Queen Anne. Let me see somebody talking about happy birthday. And we talking about Anne today. Well, happy birthday, Anne. Love you. Happy birthday. So y'all who see Anne Joy depending on God's name, y'all go on over there and give her some hearts or holler happy birthday to her, while we also study about a Queen Anne. Way to put that on out there in the middle of the lesson, Lily. Just yell it on out. Happy birthday, Anne. Happy birthday. Y'all can give that to Anne as well as I continue to read to us about Queen Anne. All right, so he breaks up with the church so he could break up with his wife so he could continue to pursue Queen Anne. But Queen Anne, she wasn't Queen Anne, she was just Anne. And so Anne, though, had one of them red flags. Anne had one of them gut things in her spirit, in her heart, that said, you know, I don't really want to fool with him. But he kept pursuing her, y'all. Listen, that's a lesson, even right there by itself, LaTanya. That's the lesson right there. When our red flags, when our gut intuitions, when our discernment antennas go off, y'all, just because somebody continued to put forth effort to have us go the other way, don't mean that's the right thing to do. Just because he asks you out 30 more times after your gut says say no the first time, don't mean it's the right thing to do. Just because they begin to give you a better price on whatever item your heart, your gut said, don't buy that particular thing, that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Listen, way back in the garden, y'all, that's the same trick that Satan did with Eve. Eve already knew God had said, don't do that. But then Satan started having conversations with Eve. And by the end of the conversations, he done negotiated and manipulated her into something that her gut, her instinct, her spirit already told her, don't engage in that. Don't indulge in that. And if I was to do a show of hands, right, of us, how many of us would really say, y'all jump down in the comments and say, that's me, if you know there are certain situations and certain decisions that your gut, your discernment, your instinct had already told you, don't do that. Don't go out with him. Don't buy that car right now. Don't get that outfit. Don't move over there. Don't whisper and tell her your secrets. How many of you would say, that's me, where you knew your gut tried to warn you, your discernment or your wisdom or whatever that is, tried to warn you, and you still went on ahead, plucking on along with that decision. And to this day, some of us look back and be like, man, if I just had went with my first mind. Man, if I just, right? I see Sharice saying, that's me. Kelsey saying, that's me. Tabitha talking about, yes, indeed. Ann is saying, that's me. Listen, God puts in us, that's Michelle saying, that's me. Honey, God puts in us this God protective system, right? GPS, this God protective system. He builds women with that. He builds women with that. Y'all get that? That GPS is our God protective system. Somebody say activate. GPS activate. I need you on higher discernment this last 4 months and a couple of weeks. God has blessings in the pipeline for Roz. Good morning, prayer partner. God has blessings in the pipeline for you, Sarah. God has blessings in the pipeline for you, Lee. God has blessings in the pipeline. Everybody said God has blessings in the pipeline for me this year. GPS, God's protective system, activate. I don't have time to be going off path. I don't have time to be driving in reverse. I don't want to do circles. What's that mean, Kelsey? What it say? 3 places I'm not going this year, back and forth, round in circles, and some other place. Like, I don't have time. GPS, God's protective system, activate in me. Activate in me. Allow me to walk in my wisdom. Allow me to make smart choices. Allow my discernment to pick up 100%. Your discernment, I declare over you, your discernment is on 100. Y'all, your discernment is on 100. It's gonna pick up in your spirit quickly. Oh, that's not good for me. Oh, that's an open door. Ooh, that right there, that's a red flag with caution tape wrapped all around it. Like, we want to operate, if we really understand and believe there are blessings in the pipeline for us this year, and we are doing our best to have those connection points with what God has ordained for our lives. We need our GPS to activate. We need our God protective system to safeguard our steps so that we waste no time. Let's go with Ann. So it says her first mind, honey, that first mind, her first mind was to resist him because, get this, because she personally witnessed the king's ability to manipulate circumstances to get his desired results. She had personally witnessed. Y'all, and then I'm going to quit preaching in the devotional. I don't know why we do that, though. I don't know why we can watch, particularly in relationships, somebody mistreat somebody else, and we continue to engage with them like we think that their character or their actions are going to be different towards us. In a series that I teach called Squad Goals about choosing good friendships and good relationships, it's one of our key points. Listen, do not operate as if you are exempt. What you watch folk do to other people, 9 times, about 9.5 out of 10, honey, they will do it to you too. We are not exempt. Somebody say that for your own good. Lay your hand on your own chest and say, I am not exempt. So when I watch a person steal from Jennifer, Why would I go sit my purse by them like I'm going to be exempt? When I watch him be unfaithful over there, why am I going to go date him like I'm the exemption? See, that's when the Bible talks about us thinking more highly of ourselves than we ought. That's when we think we're the stuff, and perhaps in our minds, she was the issue, right? Or they were the issue. Or maybe she didn't do good by him and she didn't treat him right. See, we do all of that stuff. But the reality is, most often, people's character show up with them everywhere they go. So you won't be the exemption. So here we go. Here we go. Her first mind was to resist him because she personally witnessed the king's ability to manipulate circumstances to get his desired results. She had watched that. She had watched the king manipulate. Call her Lorena to the Bible study because I don't see her this morning. Get her, Jen. Wake Lorena up. And later went against her gut. And later went against her gut and the waving red flags. She agreed to his proposal and can move over and let some of us slide into her shoes right here. I know that she's not the first of us to go against our guts. Shaking my head, God help us. God help us. Shortly after the nuptials, the Pope of the Catholic Church, remember, because he broke up with the church, broke up with his wife. The Pope of the Catholic Church decreed sentences of punishment against King Henry as a result of his new marriage to Queen Anne and the resulting excommunication. The first break between the Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church took place. So that's a bit of history there. That's how we got the Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church, because he broke up with the Catholic Church because they don't condone divorces, and went ahead and got him a good Church of England started so that he could be with Queen Anne. Oh, y'all, I keep dropping these nuggets. I'm going to say this, so I'm going to say it and I'm going to move on. That's why, y'all, let's not explain to ourselves when a person who, quote unquote, is interested in you does not put forth any effort. What we see here is that when men really want to do what they want to do, especially relationships, they figure out how to do it. This dude done broke up with a whole church and broke up with his wife and started him a new church so that he could be with the woman he wanted to be with and have somebody to marry them. See, and I'm not saying what he's doing is right. I'm just dropping nuggets about how we can sometimes make excuses like, well, he was just tired. He ain't called all week lately because he tired. No, he ain't called all week because he don't want to call. That real talk stuff helps us to make better choices. It helps us to walk in wisdom. When we're honest and real with ourselves about things, it helps us to make better choices. And let me see, because y'all started jumping in the conversation on that whole character check. I see y'all saying, check the character. I see y'all saying, do not justify the truth you see. Absolutely, Tamara. She said, don't justify that truth. Don't act like, I saw Ross say, like you're so different, right? Let's not make up excuses. Look at Debbie Brown coming on in here. Good morning, hon. Welcome back from the conference. Real talk. Ross is saying real talk. So lots of times the reasons why we later can go against our guts and our instincts, y'all, is because we'll massage stuff to make us feel better about our circumstances instead of just going with wisdom, with good understanding. Listen, if he ain't dialed a number, he just ain't dialed a number. He didn't lose your number. His phone not broke. He didn't run out of minutes. He not working offshore. He not out in a place where it's no connection. None of that stuff. Because we see right here, they do what they want to do, right? Let me get on back over here to this though and get back on topic. So here we go. We're on page number 46 for those of you who jumping in our Queen C Queens. Y'all almost helped us get them all out. So if you still need to get your book, I'm going to put the link up there so you can join us because we got some days to go. All right, here we go. The Church of England was brought under the King Henry's control. Anne was crowned Queen of England and gave birth to their first heiress a few months later. Heiress is daughter, right? So here we go. Things appear to be going well between the couple until that birth, okay? Given he already had 6 daughters with his first wife And eager King Henry was disappointed when his newest spouse brought birth yet another daughter. He hoped with subsequent tries that a boy would soon follow, right? Because the king trying to get him a son. So he got 6 girls over there. By the way, it's 6. My mama got 6 girls. But anyway, and so when his new wife has a 7th daughter, honey, he done kind of got disappointed and hurt. Like it's her fault that he having all these daughters, right? Because he got 6 over there. So now he's upset. So Anne tried repeatedly to produce the coveted son, but failed. She endured 3 miscarriages in the process. Y'all following me? He Kelsey say, nah, he not offshore, honey. He not. I'm just trying to tell the people he not. So Anne tried repeatedly to produce the coveted son, but failed. She endured 3 miscarriages in the process. Let's just chat real talk right there. Y'all jump into the comments. Have you ever found yourself in a circumstance where whether it's the supervisor, whether it's the relationship, whether it's the friendship, whatever it is, the person put forth effort to engage you, to bring you into whatever dynamic it is. They put forth effort to engage you in it. And then once you've become attached to it, once you become engaged with it, once you have allowed it to get into your emotions, once we have become familiar with it, in common with it, and now we have emotions toward it, the person then turns around and flips the script. And now they're finding fault with you, and you find yourself trying to work hard to stay in the good graces, to stay in the relationship, to stay in the work environment, to stay in the friendship, to stay in the family dynamic. You find yourself now pursuing the thing that once pursued you. Y'all, listen to me. You find yourself working extra hard to stay in good graces, to pursue the thing that once pursued you. Honey, see, that wisdom and that gut and that red flags, anybody ever been there? Well, honey, she tracked you down to be your bestie. She tracked you down, honey, asking you to go to lunch or asking you to come to this or that. Tracked you down to become your new best friend. And now, honey, that you in it and you started to care about her and you started to kind of dig the little friendship a little bit. Now when you call, she always busy. Now when you call, she with some other folk. All I am describing and trying to help us understand is we got to be careful about when the table begins to turn and the manipulation sets in and you find yourself pursuing hard after the thing that once pursued you, that thing that now makes you wrong, that points out all of your mistakes, where you can't be good enough. All of those massagings, you guys, is what puts us in an emotional space, in an empty space that causes us to hold on to stuff tighter that we should have let go of. It's those simple nuances that begin to reshape a thing, right? And it causes us to feel a deficit in one area that can cause us to make a poor choice in a different area. For example, if you hadn't felt so isolated and abandoned or betrayed over here in this friendship, perhaps you wouldn't stay over here in this work environment where God has long told you to go ahead and start your own business. But because this place over here has you feeling a bit unstable or a bit underappreciated or has you second guessing your self-worth, that stuff carries residue into other choices in our lives, y'all. And when the red flags and those gut instincts begin to go off, we can't even hear them clearly because over here we're so messed up. We compensate. That's what we do. We compensate in other areas of our lives. So get this now as we talk about Queen Anne. Queen Anne's gut had already told her, don't fool with him. Don't get into that situation, right? But she gets into it, and the man that was once pursuing her is now she's trying to pursue and please him. So she's putting even her body under subjection, right? And she continues to try to have these children. She continues to have these children, and she's having these miscarriages. Good morning, Lori. She's having these miscarriages, right? So I want y'all to see how all of this stuff begins to work together, whether it's at your job, whether it's with a family member, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's with your children, whether it's in your finances, whether it's in a friendship, whether it's in the ministry where you serve. In any area, y'all, when we begin to get off balance, the residue of that can begin to have domino effects, and we find ourselves making poor choices in other areas because this area over here has deficits. Somebody say, God, fill in the deficit. So we have Ann over here, y'all. Think about it. So now she's in a place. You done chased after me. See, I'm looking upside his head. That's why I'm talking like this. You done chased after me. You done pursued me. You done broke up with the church and broke up with your wife to get with me. And now, after I have a daughter, it ain't my business that you got 6 other daughters. You're irritated because you wanted me to birth forth a son, and that's beyond my control. So now you have the audacity to be disappointed with me. Now, who imagine that you're a woman in the dynamics of this disappointment, and she's miscarriaging. Many people say, even outside of just the physical piece of that, when that's just physical, miscarriages sometimes are even associated with the symptoms of other things that are happening. So imagine what begins to happen, y'all, with Ann's self-esteem. Imagine what begins to happen in her emotions, because now you feel rejected. You know he's disappointed. Imagine what's happening within her physical body, the stressors that's causing her to miscarriage. Imagine the disappointment in herself. Imagine the pressure that she's under. Y'all get that? Imagine what her body begins to go through, right? My sister said, look upside his head. Imagine what her body begins to go through. Y'all help me, especially those of you who have experienced perhaps a miscarriage and you're willing to share, or those of you who've experienced just being pregnant and what that does. Imagine how she must have sometimes looked at herself if they had mirrors back in that day, right, Debbie Brown? Imagine what began to happen, y'all, for her self-esteem. Imagine what began to happen in her other relationships. Can you imagine that she probably began to isolate herself from some folk, especially the friends who tried to lean in and tell her, girl, listen, I don't care if he is a queen. A king. He's a king with about 19 mistresses and a wife. I don't care what he offer you. The friend who probably said, honey, that castle ain't worth it. Don't do that. That crown ain't worth it, right? So can you imagine that she found herself pulling away from some friendships and isolated from some family folk who tried to warn her, and her body's going through changes. Tracy's saying been there 5 times. You can imagine, right? All of that, y'all. All of that trauma, whatever it looked like, Sarah. All of that experience in a space where from the beginning, y'all, somebody say from the beginning. Somebody else say, help me, Lord. From the beginning, she knew, don't do that. Don't go down that road. Don't go down that road, right? So here's where we are. It says, true to form, Henry VIII started to court another woman and to seek a divorce. See, we've been new. Somebody say, I've been new. We knew that's what he was going to do. That's what he been doing. You get it? He began to court another woman and to seek a divorce. He had Anne investigated, y'all, for high treason. For high treason. So all of a sudden, Anne, honey, the one he done pursued, the one he done chased down and hunted down, honey, he now has her being investigated for high treason. Basically, he's telling the country that she's a spy. When sis Lori, Jackie Weathers, hey friend, I need to hug your neck tight. Sarah, somebody tell me when sis have time to be a spy? Sis over here done gave birth, and sis on her 3rd miscarriage. When sis have time to be a spy? When sis somewhere telling secrets to the enemy about the country? When sis got time to be somewhere rummaging through papers and looking up information to share? When sis got time to become a spy? But that's how folk will do, y'all. We don't have to be in King 8's situation, right? With Anne, in our own situations. Y'all see how he done flipped that whole script? But your gut knew, Lori. Your gut knew. Your gut knew. Listen. Your gut knew. Shell, your gut knew. Jackie. Debbie, your gut knew. Your gut knew. Your gut knew when you shifted from letting that person be your mentee to trying to let that person be your friend. You knew from the stuff you had been walking her through, right? That she had the propensity to demonstrate some pieces of certain types of character. You already knew you should have kept her in the proper place in your life. You already knew that wasn't prayer partner material. You already knew because she done told you too many folks' secrets. So you already knew that wasn't prayer partner material. You already knew, honey, what you had to walk him or her through with their unfaithfulness in some situations. So you already knew not to agree to let her come stay at your house several months. You are, see, that's what I'm saying, y'all. This is the power in that. Here's the thing, because I'm not beating us up. I'm really trying to help us. Y'all, when we own that we know better, that it was not a mistake, it was a bad choice. When we own it, when we put it in that verbiage, it gives us the power to do something different. When we play like we're victims, when we play like we didn't have no signals, when we play like somebody tricked us, when we play like we didn't know no better, y'all, that keeps us in the posture of a victim. But when we say, you know what, as the title of this lesson is for the day, when we know better, when we own that we knew, when we own that our gut told us so, when we own that a good girlfriend had tapped us on our shoulder, when we own what we know, it empowers us to do better. And y'all, I'm not trying, I ain't nobody's, in their bad grammar, I ain't nobody's victim. I'm empowered. I'm a queen. I'm sitting in royalty. I got royalty running through my veins from my ancestors. I got royalty running in my veins spiritually. I'm not sitting around playing like I'm anybody's victim. I have the Holy Spirit living on the inside of me. I have a cohort of accountability partners and strong girlfriends who will call a thing. And guess what? I don't get defensive and don't allow them to tell me the truth about situations. I don't secretly date. Listen, if I can't show him to folk like my oldest brother who's loved me my whole life, if I got to act like I can't tell him, I'm not doing it. I'd rather wait longer to be with my person than to have y'all have to come pick me up because I done got myself in a situation, y'all. Somebody said with me, I ain't nobody's victim. If I made the poor choice, I own the choice. If I made the poor decision, I own the decision. Guess what? Because when I do that, I empower Gina Lynette to do something different. And with these 4 months, y'all, and a half, I'm committed. I'm committed to being on the right path, to fulfilling purpose, to walking out what God has for my life. So as I know better, I'm going to do better. Is that anybody else out there that's saying that's me too? I'm tired of playing like something in my gut said that wasn't something in my gut didn't tell me, that the hairs on the back of my neck didn't stand up, that somehow I didn't overhear or catch a glimpse of something that told me to go a different way. When we know better, we can do better when we own our choices. Let me get on off here if I be just too far over time. So let me end up tell y'all how King ate. I would hate I would hate to have to let y'all know this bad news on this tragic Tuesday for Queen Anne, not for us. But here's what happened. He had Anne investigated for high treason. Y'all already know he the king, right? He done already broke up with a whole church, so he ain't gonna have no problem stirring up confusion in the court. That's his track record, right? But we can't even blame him. That's what I tell the people. You can't blame the person. I said it all the time when my friends laugh. You can't go date somebody on crack and then get upset that they demonstrate crack addicted behavior. Baby, if you date it and you come in here and the TV gone, do not call me talking a long time about your missing TV. You call me and talk to me about why you made the choice to go date somebody that's already demonstrated to you that they got them kind of issues. Because that's what we want to do. We want to call and, girl, let me tell you what he did. No, you call me and tell me why you made that choice to be with what he did. We're going to talk about that part, right? So here we want to beat up King Henry VIII, but we really can't, because King Henry VIII is being committed to who King Henry VIII was. He ain't doing that, no. I don't have to like it. Get me on this. I don't have to like it to respect it, right? Y'all hear what I'm saying? Lily, if he borrowing bikes from the other people to take them out on dates, you hear what I'm saying? And then when he asked you out on a date and you already saw him pumping all the other girlfriends down the street on dates. So when he come by your house to pick you up, don't text me to my girl. Can you believe that he showed up out here to date me with a bike? Don't call me to talk about him because I'm gonna say, girl, can I believe that you said yes to the date? Because you done already looked down the street and saw him doing that with 5 other people. Don't y'all get what I'm saying? I'm saying that comically, but y'all get what I'm saying. Y'all get what I'm saying? Let's take our focus off of them and what they're doing, and let's own our choices. Y'all follow me? Jen talking about, yeah, pumping. Yeah, pumping it. So I respect King Henry VIII. He doing what King Henry VIII too. I would say to us, queens, but why would you choose to go be with him? So here we go. So he had Anne investigated for high treason because she out here spying. Regrettably, the screams of her gut have been ignored. Woo. Y'all, I did a meme one day that said, I apologize to my gut. Literally. I apologize to my gut. That's a sobering thought, right? I apologize to my gut. Anybody else need to go and kind of throw you a repentance in that too? Because you already know certain stuff. I apologize to my gut. Yeah. So regrettably, the screams of her gut have been ignored. As the king moved on to his number next, Queen Anne was tried before a jury of her peers, y'all, and beheaded 4 days later under the crime of treason. So here we're going to do real serious talking and we're going to wrap up. This dude had this girl tried for treason in the court. Get that? But he's the king. So y'all already know his track record said if he can mess with a whole church institution, going to court in line wasn't going to do nothing for him. If he'll lie before the good Jehovah, he didn't have no problem going before a court and lying to a judge. Because see, he's a liar. Y'all hear me now? He's a liar. He's a cheater. That's what he does. Again, I'm saying, I don't condone what he does. But he showed that that's what he does. And regrettably, she ignored the screams of her gut, y'all. And in history, 4 days later, this dude has this girl beheaded. Do y'all get me? Beheaded. Like they done cut her head off. Beheaded under the crime of treason. Y'all get that? Now I ain't playing no more. The heaviness of that if we were to have real talk, how many of us have found ourselves in situations where it could have cost us our everything? In those same situations we could have avoided if we would just listen to our guts sincerely, y'all. Sincerely. 4 days later, this girl is dead. This is somebody's mama. Not the mama of his sons that he wanted, but she had a daughter. You know, murdered this girl. Murdered this girl. Call it what you want to call it in history. Beheaded her in court. You murdered. You plotted and you manipulated. And you murdered this girl, right? I don't justify that. But I want to keep us present to that GPS that God has planted on the inside of each of us, y'all. That precious Holy Spirit that will tell you, don't go down that road, sis. Don't do that, sis. Y'all hear me? Queen Anne. Let's wrap it up and get on off of here. For Queen Anne, we're on the reflection piece. We're on the reflection piece on page 47. For Queen Anne, the red flags were all around, highlighting the character flaws of her future husband. Yet, she married him. She had watched him display the same tendencies with others that he eventually used to take her life. My God. Queens, with no judgment whatsoever. We have to stand in our own truth about various situations in our lives. Like Queen Anne, are there decisions that we have made which steamrolled, y'all, past the red flags all around us? I certainly can name a few moments of could have, should have, and would have if I could do it all over again. Queen, are we choosing differently now as part of our lessons learned? One of my girlfriends would often quote, when we know better, we do better. We should, anyways, for that is where the redemption lies. For that is where the redemption lies. When we know better, we do better. That's our devotion, day number 9. If you've enjoyed the lessons and the antics of my storytelling, go ahead and give me some love. Let's fill the atmosphere with love as I just set the stage then for us to wrap it up. If anybody sincerely just needs God's redemptive grace, I see you with your hand up, Lori. If anybody just really right now, you're in the midst of the residue of situations that seem as if they're going to follow you for the rest of your life because of choices, I'm going to just pray this morning that God's redemptive grace gives clean slates on this morning, and that we truly do embrace that when we know better, we're doing better. We're going to honor our intuitions, our Holy Spirits, our guts, whatever you call that thing, right? We ask for God's redemptive grace on this morning to saturate our lives in spaces where we've made those choices. And even then, Jen, as you're interceding, those of you who are praying, just put that right there. You're praying with me. I'm speaking the prayer. And those of us who understand on a deeper level, right? Redemptive grace in all situations where we made choices and we still see the residue. Redemptive grace. But even deeper, Roz, my prayer partner, I'm asking God to go into the deeper crevices that are at the root of those choices. Those deeper crevices that are at the root of the choices. I don't want God to just heal the symptoms of the choices. Are y'all tracking with me? Not just the symptoms of the choices. But here's the prayer. Roots, causes, be healed in Jesus' name. Many of us make those poor choices because we have deficits in our self-esteem, in our self-worth. We have deficits in our love bank, and there's nothing wrong. That's not judgment. Some of us never heard I love you. So the first I love you that we hear, we're in it, right? There's nothing wrong with acknowledging those deficits. Some of us have never felt chosen. Some of us have never felt like we're number one. Some of us have been waiting a long time. And I'm just asking the Lord, whatever the roots are, y'all say that with me, roots be healed. Roots be healed. Some of us never received those guiding spaces from our parents. And I always say that graciously for my Glenn and Greg. Honey, they were high school folk who got married and had children and all of that good stuff. And there are moments when I've watched fathers interact with their daughters, and those fathers are saying, you know, you're a princess and you're somebody special. And I have acknowledged that there are moments when I had a tinge of something because I didn't have those affirmations and declarations spoken over my life. That's the reality. I just didn't. And I don't fault my parents for that. They were two high school kids that got married, had 8 children. Honey, they were doing their best to just feed us, right? Because y'all know with 8 kids, it wasn't no point in my mama getting no job, baby. The daycare money would have ate up all of that. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my father was then supporting 10 people on one salary. So Senior Greg was doing the best he could do. God rest his soul. He's transitioned into glory now. But he was doing the best that he could do just to feed us. But it doesn't mean that I didn't go out into the world with some deficits, ignorant about certain things, didn't really know how to navigate certain things, didn't have those conversations that I can remember sitting, in his lap or at his feet and having him pour certain things into me about my worth and my value. And so I go out into the world a very sheltered church girl with very little knowledge about certain dynamics. That's just the truth, right? That's not a judgment. Y'all remember, this is a no judgment zone. I'm just telling you. And so there were lots of root issues that God really had to deal with me about and really begin to settle. And so again, I'm just declaring over us, roots be healed. Roots be healed. Not just the situations. May his grace cover our situations, but may his healing virtue run down into those roots and really help us to identify deficit areas in our lives, where those deficit areas sometimes are the driving points. That's a whole something right there. My deficits will no longer drive me. Let's let that be our concluding thought for today. My deficits will no longer drive me. Some of us have lived, Tabitha, our whole lives driven by our deficits. We've lived our whole lives trying to make up for the father figure that was absent, for the one that had us waiting at the window, watching for them to show up as little girls, and they never showed up. And many of us as grown women are not literally standing at the windows watching anymore, but in many areas of our lives, we're still watching and waiting for the promotion, watching and waiting for the friendship, watching and waiting for the finances, watching and waiting for it to be good enough. The deficits are what are driven our lives. Some of us are not really mean and hateful. Our actions are. Our actions are mean and hateful and jealous oriented. You're really not at your core that person, but your actions can be. And how does that happen? Because at the core, you were never validated enough. You never felt as if you were pretty, or you never felt as if you were good enough. And so to defend yourself, you tear down other people. You make harsh comments about other people. A different woman or queen can walk by and you guarantee to look at her slayed outfit, and you're going to highlight where her hem may be a little crooked. You're not really a hateful, ugly person, but your actions can be, because your deficits are driving your behavior. Some of you really are not promiscuous. You really aren't. You aren't a person who just wants to just sleep around, but your deficit is driving your behavior, and that perhaps is the thing that got you a lot of attention or a dynamic. And so you do that. You do that, and you find yourself in situations that were never really your intention. Some of you are just lonely. Listen, and you're not just lonely like I want to go out to eat. Some of you are lonely in your souls. Some of you are literally lonely in your souls. Some of you have experienced such loss, and because that happened such a long time ago, you think that your grieving process should be over. And what you are doing is masking grief. You're masking the critical loss of a significant person in your life. And by now, in the natural terms of this world, I'm just speaking what the Holy Spirit is giving me. You think that your grieving process is over, when in fact your soul, the little girl in you as a grown woman, but the little girl in you still misses your mom, or you miss your father, or you miss your best friend, or you miss that auntie or grandma that has raised you. And thank you, Roz. You keep speaking, be healed. Thank you. That's my prayer partner praying. That's how we really do pray. Me and Roz Brazil and I have been prayer partners for years, but we probably can count on 7 fingers the number of times we've prayed out loud. But honey, me and her can text a prayer. Roz will tell you, we can text some stuff, and it's, yes, ma'am. So my prayer partner keeps putting into the atmosphere, be healed. I want y'all to know she over there praying. She probably speaking in tongues and praying hard in her home, but she's putting that into the atmosphere. But I'm speaking to somebody, that's your grieving process. And so you find yourself clinging onto people. You find yourself in bed with people. You find yourselves tolerating in nasty friendships, folk who shouldn't be in your life. And it is actually the manifestation of a grief process that has not been completed. No judgment. Some of you have endured losses that I don't even understand how your mind is still intact, because you've experienced such grief and such loss. But what I'm telling you is happening is that instead of it being allowed to be expressed and to be worked through in its totality, who, by the way, one of my accountability partners and person who I call one of my coaches, Lori, can help you with that. Instead of allowing yourself to really sit in that and go through that process, the world has taught you that you ought to be over it, baby. When you've lost your mama, don't nobody have the right to tell you when you ought to be over it. Don't I can get teared up just even processing that one day Zoe's gonna leave this earth and she's still here. So don't nobody have the right to put no time limit on that. And so some of you feel like I ought to be over it, and because you feel that way, you no longer allow yourself to be grieving. And all of us know that when you're in the midst of grief, don't make certain choices. But because you don't declare that you're grieving and you act like you're over it, then you go ahead and make critical life choices that you really should not be making. And those choices lead you down the wrong roads. And that's because deficits are driving your choices. And then the Lord just dropped this one in me. And then some of us have our mothers, but the relationships are so dysfunctional. You don't even know what it's like to have a sister who sticks. Like, you don't know what it's like to have like a sister, like a sister who watches after you, and your only connection, and your only whatever being able to be in the space with them is to try to be like them. And so you find yourself engaging in conversations that don't even really represent how you think and feel about the world. But to survive them, you got to get with them. And if they're being nasty about somebody and talking about somebody, you got to do it too to fit in. And you'll do it because, my God, it's the only family dynamic you have, and you don't want to risk not having that. And so it begins to infiltrate you. And when you go home or you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't even like that part of you, but you do it, right? And whether it's that with a family or that with a friend or that at a church or that whatever, you do that stuff from a deficit. Are y'all following me on this morning? I don't know why the Lord has me lingering, because I'm very cognizant of the time, and I know that it's time to let you go. But God wants us to be healed, y'all. Why? Because I'm going to bring it all the way back to what he told me last year. He has blessings in the pipeline for us this year. And if we don't get that stuff straight, if we don't get that stuff right, we will run off our good blessings, or we will miss our good blessings, or our eyes and our hearts won't even be receptive to receive our good blessings, because deficits are driving our lives. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me on this morning? I say it all with love. So I'll just come in full agreement with what my prayer partner is saying. Be healed. Be healed. The last one that just kind of hit me right here in my gut is for those of you who've even endured abusive relationships, physically abusive relationships. Y'all hear me on this morning. It's like the Lord is showing me this physical something where he punched you or something, almost like it went into your gut, literally. And we've been talking about honoring your gut, your intuition. And his punch did not just hurt you physically. His punch has caused you to second guess yourself. It has bruised your inner, like your gut. It has bruised your ability to trust even your own self. His physical abuse went deeper and harder than just what happened on your exterior. It went into your internal space. Be healed. Be healed in Jesus' name. When we know better, we can do better. So my prayer as we end on this morning is simply this. And for those of you who are driving and still listening and in this somber space, who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. James 3:13. We receive the grace of God's wisdom on this morning to truly be healed in Jesus' name. Oh, it's so past time to go. So whether you're watching now, whether you had to jump off, whether you'll watch on the replay, that's my prayer. It cost Queen Anne her life. May God's grace spare our lives as we walk in wisdom today. In Jesus' name. Walk in wisdom today in Jesus' name. Love you all. As always, I honor the greatness that is on the inside of you. Y'all take care. I'll see you back here tomorrow for day number 10.